Hey guys, Dev here. I've come across this video from Jubilee called "I'm an Incel, Ask Me Anything." Let me just bring it in here. There it is. So it's only 8 minutes 43 seconds long, but there's some really interesting stuff in this video. I came across it maybe a day or two ago, and I've been mulling it over in my head. I figured I might as well talk about it. This guy here, in the yellow jacket, he is a self-professed incel. Now he seems to be not just a guy who can't get laid, right? Because there's the incels who are just the direct meaning of the term incel, right? There's the involuntary celibates, you know? These are just people who aren't able to have sex. They want to have sex, but they're not able to. And for example, this covers like most teenagers. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of teenagers out there who want to get laid, and they can't. And they're probably not going to get laid at all until they go off to college or whatever. They're definitely incels, but they're not like the political incel. And the political incel is somebody who kind of gets mired in the incel subculture of like the underbelly of the internet. That's like the political incel is very different from the actual incel. And this guy is much more a political incel himself. However, like, he's not a lost cause, I would say. You know, like, his fashion sense is a bit strange. The long hair is not doing it for him. But maybe, like, he's not an ugly guy. He's not deformed or anything. You know, if he, you know, maybe changed up his dress and lost a few pounds, he'd probably be, you know, quite able to get a girlfriend. So very clearly the political incel belief of, oh, just the Chads get the girls, you know, that kind of thing, it's not true. It's really not. Like, I'm living proof it's not. So is my roommate Dave. So are a lot of people out there who have girlfriends and wives and other partners. A huge part of the incel philosophy is not just, oh, those bitches won't sleep with me and it's all society's fault. No, there's like an internal aspect to it that I think a lot of incels are not willing to really look at. It's how they treat themselves. It's how they treat others. It's how they view people. You know, it's the things that they do. It's not just society keeping them down, you know? But let's actually watch this. Let's see what's going on here. Let's go.
If you could summarize your opinion towards women?
Like what I think of them?
Yes.
I do think they are very important, but...
You know, that's... I don't know why there was the echo on the butt and the... Because that's actually reasonable. Like women are important, but not more important than men. More important than anybody else. Their concerns are real concerns. They're humans, but they're not better than men, you know? Men's concerns are equally valid, you know? The butt is reasonable, and already we're starting off with just a demonization of I guess, you know, not being a feminist. Wait, short for involuntary celibate, an incel is a member of an online subculture that centers around not being sexually active despite desiring to be. It's not, no. An incel is a person who is not sexually active despite desiring to be. You don't have to be a member of an online subculture.
Some topics are hard to approach.
More and more male hatred against women is rising up.
You might call...
I'm kind of expecting an exploding van here. You know, the internet hate machine.
Call this a new phenomenon.
Either the subjects are inaccessible or people are uncomfortable discussing them.
If you're an ugly guy, you better get a good job and make some money, because nobody's going to want to talk to you.
Girls.
It's actually true. That's actually true. If you're an ugly guy, you gotta work to get ahead. You know what? Same thing with ugly girls too. Like, I've actually known some ugly girls who have, like, you know, had little to no romantic success, and I kind of feel bad for them. Like, this is not a gendered thing. It is definitely just an attractive. It's like attractiveness privilege actually exists. Really, it does.
I will destroy you.
You don't deserve to get laid at all!
So we found those subjects in person, rented a space in Hollywood, and invited our audience and any strangers walking by to come inside and ask them anything.
Well, at least they're willing to listen to him, right? Like, most places would just consider him a threat. Like, they would just view him as this kind of, like, raging misogynist, and he has to be censored, and don't give him a platform like this, you know? I wonder if Jubilee has been, like, downvoted to hell just for... Let's just see. Nope. I mean, a little bit, but not really that much.
Okay. Hey, I'm Brendio. I also go by Derek. I'm an incel, and I'm here to answer people's questions about the topic.
All right.
I can start. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
So you're an incel?
Yes.
Why would you ever sign up to do this?
I suppose I would want to give more of a positive light on this community, which is a very negative light upon it.
Yeah, see, he says this community, so he's definitely part of the political incel thing. But, like, I don't see this guy as going so deep into it that he's going to shoot up a school or anything, you know? I think he's just sad and lonely, you know? But still, you know, good on him for actually talking about it.
Okay. And do you think that's a good thing?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because a lot of the boys in this community aren't bad people.
But you acknowledge that a good handful of them are, right?
Not a good handful, I would say a small handful.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. Most of the incel community, the political incels, they're just lonely, you know? They feel like they've had no success with trying to get girlfriends or whatever, and they're sad about it. You know, they're sad about the state of their lives. You can't blame them for that, you know? No one deserves a girlfriend, but, you know, everyone wants to be loved. So how could you possibly blame them for, you know, for feeling bad about their lack of success romantically?
Who hurt you, or what happened? What event sort of catalyzed this way of thinking and you getting into this kind of research?
Society.
We live in a society. And look at her face, all right? The feminists give this answer all the time. You know, it's society's problem. It's the patriarchy. You know, it's the white supremacy. It's capitalism. You know, all these overarching structures. But as soon as one of those structures might be doing something bad to men, well, now she's skeptical.
Do you hate women?
No.
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 Do you have a...
Yeah, generally not, you know. Most incels don't hate women because they want to at least have sex with them, you know. It's like how most people who are like tranny chasers are not actually transphobes because they want to fuck them. You know, you can't really do both of those things. Like, people talk about hate fucking, but the honest truth is that's not nearly as prevalent as you might be led to believe.
A female role model in your life?
A female role model?
Yeah, like a mom or an aunt or a friend?
I mean, I love my mom. I wouldn't necessarily consider her a role model, but I do love her quite a bit.
Yeah, see, this guy's answer kind of reminds me of my roommate Peter, who is a guy I've talked about on the channel several times. He was a guy from Taiwan who went to New Zealand for high school and Canada for university. And all throughout his school career, both in Taiwan and New Zealand, he went to gender-segregated schools. Before going to university, he hadn't spoken more than like a dozen words to a female that wasn't part of his family. Okay? So when he finally got to university, and we were in Canada, and of course the university is co-ed, and the dorm was co-ed, when there were like women in the room, he couldn't handle it, you know? When we were like hanging out with female friends, and there was no sexual tension at all because we were all just friends, for him it was like really weird. He couldn't even talk to them. And subsequently, over time, he got into like more and more extreme forms of pornography because he couldn't even speak to women, let alone even try to get something going. So he like kind of just went down this spiral of depravity. Eventually, he did talk to a girl because he met her when they were playing tennis, because they were both tennis players, and now he's married to her and they have a kid. So like, and he even said like all of his weird sexual dysfunction went away as soon as he actually got that first date with this girl. So I do think actually that this guy here in the video, I think that he's probably telling the truth. He probably didn't have any female role models growing up. He probably didn't have any positive interaction with women outside of his family members, which might make it hard to approach them, which might contribute to someone becoming an incel.
If a woman was elected as president of the United States, how would you react?
I don't know. It probably would depend on the woman. I probably...
That's completely reasonable, isn't it? There's a very big difference between Hillary Clinton and Tulsi Gabbard, for example.
I probably wouldn't be supportive of it, honestly, but...
Why do you say that, if you don't mind me asking?
I do think that, you know, men should be the leaders and women should be the caregivers and the loving, supporting, and the teachers in some cases.
See, that's a very traditionalist worldview. It's not without merit, because definitely a lot of men and women trend towards those roles naturally without any kind of state enforcement. But of course, there's always the exceptions, and the exceptions should be allowed to do whatever they like. That's the point of a free society. So I don't know if he understands the exceptions or if he just doesn't care. I might not necessarily be with him on that one.
Women of color or just women in general have been oppressed by certain systems and other oppressed communities, especially LGBTQ+, all those don't...
Look at his face. He just doesn't fucking care about the SJW bullshit.
really fit with the spectrum that incels or you have been talking about. So why do you think your method of thought would help fix what we have today?
Before he even has a chance to answer that, her question was, your experiences as an incel, the things that have happened to you, the systemic oppression you face, does not fit with feminist theory. It does not fit with Marxist theory. It does not fit with any of this other postmodern SJW nonsense. So therefore, you're wrong. So why aren't you converting to be a feminist? You know, can't we have one fucking video? Can't we have one thing where the problems that we discuss are men's problems and not women's problems? Women's problems are very obviously important. They do not need to be the center of every single thing. It's like with the rainbow colored poppies, you know, this year for like in my Remembrance Day video, the Don Cherry video. Not everything needs to be about the LGBT community either, you know? Sometimes events can happen that are not part of your specific worldview. And you don't need to bend them to be part of your specific worldview. Things can happen outside of your control and outside of your ideology. Jesus fuck.
I probably wouldn't view the things that you might view as oppression. I have a feeling. I would view it more as how we treat children that we love. We control them, but we control them lovingly, not as a slave, not as we're forcing them to do things against their will.
She's looking like this is some kind of wild assertion on his part, but it's completely true, isn't it? Like, we do control children. That's the point. Is that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're kids, you know? Like, what's your objection here, lady?
Well, I would view it more as a loving domestic thing in the past. And I would say that if we were to do it in a civilized way, maybe in a more, even a Christian way, even though I'm not really advocating for a certain religion or ideology, I would assume that women would probably be happier. And I wouldn't just assume that blindly. I would assume that based on the data that I have seen.
That's true, isn't it? Like, if you take, you know, coercion out of the equation and let people live whatever lives they want to live, you don't think that women might want to take care of the house and men might want to take care of the area outside of the house? Like, just naturally? Now, if it doesn't happen to be like that, I guess it doesn't have to be like that. But I think the whole point is that you're supposed to let people choose what they like to do, right? I mean, she seems like, the assertion that women would actually choose to be caregivers. Oh, how dare you? Well, I guess every single woman that I've chosen that, they're all oppressive to you, right, lady?
What data have you seen that has brought you to this conclusion? Because I'm now curious where I can get this data from.
I couldn't reference it offhand, but I believe there was a study that...
Yeah, man, like, this is not the place to be pulling out, like studies here, dude.
That, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Okay. What do you think it is about liberal areas that create behavior in women that...
You know what? I hate that the fact that liberal or liberalism has become known as leftism when they're not the same thing. It pisses me off.
That you think is a problem?
Promiscuity leads to increased standards in more primitive aspects such as looks. And that typically makes it harder for some people to find a relationship, including sometimes good-looking people. There's guys who are much better looking than I am who are having a really hard time finding someone in a place like LA or in London or in Auckland, New Zealand. But they probably would have a perfectly fine time finding a woman somewhere else.
This is the thing. He's not wrong. She was rolling her eyes, but he's not wrong, right? Like, if the game is one-night stands, what does it matter outside of looks? I mean, think about it, you know? You don't care how much money they make. You don't care how... Maybe that attracts you to them, like, for some superficial reason, but you don't care about what they're doing with their lives. You care about how good they look so that you can fuck them and then leave the next day. Like, that's what one-night stand culture is. Nothing else matters but looks. And, you know, in, dare I say it, a more traditional society where marriage is the norm rather than the exception, considering considering the divorce rate and the single mothers nowadays, in a society where marriage is the norm, you don't think people might be happier? Like, you might not... Okay, maybe you have to sacrifice having sex with many people, and, you know, that is a sacrifice. But maybe you get to have a good, deep relationship with one person that you truly love. Isn't that better for everyone, not just men? I don't know. I think so.
So you think that promiscuity is the problem, and if people were more monogamous and more withholding, that would sort of fix society?
It would go a long way. Like, she has this look of disbelief on her face, and it's like, what do you think a single mother is? Now, I'm not saying that there aren't reasons for single mothers to exist, you know, like sometimes your partner dies, sometimes your partner's abusive and you have to leave, sometimes things are out of your control. Like, I get it. This is not me advocating for you staying with a guy who's bad for you, all right? But this is me advocating for having some fucking forethought in who you reproduce with. And for, like, maybe thinking, okay, is this person actually marriage material before settling down, before having kids with them? Rather than just rushing into things blindly because you're basically used to social media culture where instant gratification is the name of the game.
Yeah, I suppose people are more traditionalists.
There have been a few mass shootings in the past where these shooters actually stated that they were incels or were radicalized by online incels. What do you think about their actions?
I condemn their actions. I don't believe violence is...
And that is more than your average Muslim does for a Muslim attack. So we're at the point now where the incels are morally superior to the Islamists.
The solution. I don't believe attacking random people is going to fix anything, whether they're, you know, women or men. I do think that the reason why they committed those actions was probably because of out of desperation or out of, you know, mental problems that probably could have been prevented had the right support was in their community, in their household. If people, you know, saw what they were posting and saw what they were experiencing in life and did something to help them.
Was there like...
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, wasn't that the point of the Joker movie? You know, his meds were cut and the social support systems weren't there and he couldn't see his therapist anymore and everything kind of spiraled downward for him. Yeah, man, like that's the absolute right answer.
Like a pivotal moment in your life, like a straw that broke the metaphorical camel's back?
When did you know you were gay? God.
You know, it's constant years of rejection, no matter who the person was, constant years of rejection in other aspects of my life. It did kind of push me towards more, I suppose, radical beliefs, but I suppose they're only like radical, but they're more just old beliefs.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a radical at all. He just seems like a conservative, you know, just a basic bitch conservative in a lot of ways. And he even said rejection in other areas of life, so not even romantic, you know. This guy probably had school problems. You know, this guy probably dropped out of college or something. This guy probably had problems getting a job. You know, this mindset is not solely based around sexual activity. It's based around these people being rejected by everybody. And you'd have to be completely heartless to not at least have some sympathy for him.
Really?
No, it sounds like I had another like metaphor, like death by 1,000 cuts. You know, it's not like one pivotal moment, but it sounds like a bunch of things built up over time.
Yeah.
One of the common criticisms about the incel community is that you feel entitled to sex or intimacy. Do you believe that you deserve sex or intimacy from a woman?
I think everybody at some level deserves someone that loves them and, you know, respects them, as long as you are also loving and respectful towards that person, you know.
I don't think deserve is the right word. I think that everyone wants that. Everyone should have the chance to try and get that, but you know, no one deserves a partner. No.
They're an equal, you know, you're not like seeking someone beyond yourself, you know, you don't have like too high standards, I suppose, you know.
If you can tell the world about something about being incel that, you know, that may not be in the internet or that's overlooked heavily, what would it be?
I don't know. I think it's mostly that most of the men are not inherently bad people. A lot of them are just lonely. They just need some help, really.
Okay.
Exactly. Eggs fucking exactly, dude. Like, I can't say anything else. That was the best way to say that.
Okay. Would you say that there's anything that other people can do to help guide or just support or...
You know, the lonely person in your class or the lonely person in your workplace, maybe he's an incel and he's not letting you know and he's just kind of afraid he wants someone positive. Just be nice, say hi, try and make friends with him. You don't have to date him, you don't have to whatever, just, you know, brighten up someone lonely's day, I suppose.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Yeah, man. So basically the stuff you were taught watching Sesame Street. The stuff that you knew from watching any like children's movie where like the bully is the villain of the movie or something or the show. Yeah. It's almost like these people have not realized that they've become the bullies that they hated.
You don't want to be an incel?
No.
Why not?
Well, I mean, it's part of the whole involuntarily thing. I mean,
What the fuck kind of a question was that? You don't want to be an incel? What? Oh.
You know, you want to try and escape it. You want to be something better. You know, you want to get a wife, get a girlfriend, get someone who loves you, spend your life with them, and be happy. And
what's one thing you wish people understood better about you?
Hold on, I'm just gonna go back a minute. Like, as he's talking about like his aspirations, look at her face. She's like, there's like a moment here where it almost seems like she's thinking, I have this all pegged wrong. Like a glimmer of self-reflection.
And be happy. And
you see that?
What's one thing you wish people understood better about you?
I don't know. I guess I wish people would recognize how much effort I'm trying, I suppose. Like, you know, I'm working out typically daily. I've lost over 100 pounds.
Nice,
I'm out
dude.
there
Congrats.
job hunting actively. I don't think people recognize how much effort the incels in general try to put into bettering themselves. I would say, you know, people don't recognize their effort. They just assume that they're all like lazy and sad and angry at women and just giving up and things of that nature, I suppose.
Okay.
You don't have to see the bad things in the world and then come out a bad person. You can just see the bad things in the world and then improve upon yourself because of them, I suppose.
So you do have hope.
Yeah, I have hope, yeah. I'm a very hopeful person.
This guy's awesome.
I suppose.
I won't lie, this went a lot differently than I thought it would. I thought we'd be yelling at each other, you know?
I kind of had a feeling it was going to go like this, you know?
It was nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you too.
Thank you so much. Hello, thanks for watching the video.
Okay, well, whatever. Is this guy getting any dates from these women, do you think? I mean, probably not. But nonetheless, yeah, this was a something, wasn't it? This was honestly a pretty good video, and I'm surprised that it actually went up on this channel considering how well it went, you know? This definitely does not contribute to the whole demonization of incels thing. Like, this humanizes them, and considering that humanizing your political enemies is one of the cardinal sins of social justice, I'm surprised it went up at all, you know? But, you know, I guess props on them for showing off this guy to be, you know, a good guy who's just been ridiculously unlucky, you know? Like, in the end, incels are men with severe depression, I would say. And maybe the severe depression is partially caused by their environment, but nonetheless, severe depression. One of the newer intersectionalities, one of the newer intersectional identities is mental health. You know, that's another axis of oppression in the SJW landscape. And considering that, you think that SJWs would be significantly more friendly towards the incels, because they have textbook depression about the state of their lives. But no. I guess, like, mental health privilege and mental disorder oppression or whatever only counts if you're not a straight white man. Because at the end of the day, incels are people that need help. And the progressives seem to be jumping through hoops to try and justify not giving it to them.